Okay.
Welcome everybody to the gallery at Penn College. Thanks for
Well-
coming out on this beautiful day. Our visiting artist is Kay Healy. Her community-based artwork focuses on memories, both her own and those belonging to other people. And she spends a great amount of time researching and interviewing people to capture those memories. Her interviews are available for listening on the computers in the gallery or on her website. Her large installations have been on display at the Philadelphia Airport and the Central Library of Philadelphia. And her installation called Coming Home was purchased by the Pennsylvania Convention Center and is now on permanent display. Kay earned her MFA from the University of the Arts in Book Arts and Printmaking, and she's originally from Staten Island, New York, and is now based in Philadelphia. Thank you, Kay, for coming and sharing your amazing work with us. Please help me to welcome Kay Healy.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Let me know if you can't hear me. I'm a soft talker, so just tell me to speak up if I'm talking softly. Thank you so much, Penny, for having me. This is an amazing gallery. It's not often that you get this much space to show your work. I was telling someone earlier that I've been making all of this new work because my studio is nice and empty, and so I'm filling the void, and it's been really great to show here, and I'm so impressed because Penny also installed all of the work. I just dropped it off, and here it is, which is a wonderful luxury. Yes, round of applause for Penny. So I started working with themes of home ever since I lost my own childhood home. It was a very sort of typical situation, but my mom decided to sell my house on Staten Island. And basically it was this large house that she no longer needed once my brother and I had moved out, and she decided to downsize and get an apartment in Manhattan. So all of a sudden we were putting all of our stuff, up for sale and putting it in storage units, and it was the first time that I really felt like I didn't have a base or a root. And so I started thinking about this idea of displacement, and right around that time is when Hurricane Katrina happened. And I don't know if you remember all of the newspaper articles and seeing images of the devastation and people who, couldn't even take their pets with them and lost family members. And I was very affected by that. And it started me thinking about other people's life stories and how they were also affected by displacement in a different way. So the piece that's behind me is called Lost and Found, and this was originally an installation I made for the Free Library of Philadelphia. And it was this beautiful space in the cafe with 22-foot ceilings. And the curator there said, "Oh, would you be interested in a group show?" And I was like, "I want the whole thing," because it was this 60-foot wall with 22-foot ceilings. It was amazing. So for the project, I took 2 years, and I asked people to think about an object that they had lost that they wish they still had. And usually people can be pretty quick about it. They'll think about something like, a roaster or a moving hand truck or books or jackets. And what I really love about that question is it's not often that it's some super valuable object, your Porsche or a diamond. I mean, maybe it could be, but usually it's something very mundane, very humble, but it just had significance to you. It was important to you. And so I had 40 different people. Some of them were strangers. I would leave little boxes in the cafe space, and people would submit their stories. Some of them were people I knew. This is my mom's jacket. And I recreated them by first drawing them life-size. Then I would transfer the drawings to screens, and I screen print them onto fabric. And then sometimes I would paint them, like this jacket I actually painted afterwards. And then after it's screen printed onto fabric, I would then sew it like a big pillow, and then stuff it from behind using what's called the trapunto method. It's a quilting method where you sew from the front, and then if you looked at the back of these, I don't want to rip it down, but if you looked at the back of them, you would see that I ripped the back and stuffed it from behind. And that gives it this relief quality. And so I did that for 90 different objects, and it was on view for a year and a half, and then sadly it had to come down because they were renovating the space. But I was able to create smaller panels that actually fit in galleries because you can't go 18 and a half feet high in most galleries. So that's how these 5 panels came to be. So each of these pieces is representative of a person and a story. For example, sorry, Adam. This is Julia's couch, and Julia Zagar described whenever she was sick, her mom would let her just sit on the couch and she would feed her soup and tea, and you just stay right there and she would take care of her. And Julia's now in her mid-80s, and she just says she longs for somebody to take care of her in that way, you know, the way that her mother did. And she also described the television set that was near that, and she remembers seeing the McCarthy hearings, and her father was a graphic designer and they were Jewish, and she said that a lot of his friends were implicated in the McCarthy hearings and were actually thrown into jail. They, some of them lost their jobs, and she remembers seeing her father in front of the television sobbing because it was his friends that were actually on television. So those are some of her stories. This is a guitar that was one of my interns, actually. She helped me out. Her name is Sam Anderson. And she played on this, I forget the exact type of guitar. I'm sure somebody here knows. But she loved it, and her mom sold it for $10 at a garage sale. I sometimes joke that a lot of these stories it's always your mom's fault, you know. And this is my friend Tim Gibbons' bicycle, and he actually went to college with me. He went to Oberlin College in Ohio, and his father also went there, and this was his father's bike, and so he was really excited about having it. And there was this custom, because it was Ohio. I'm in Philly now, so I can't imagine this, but you wouldn't lock your bike. You would just leave it. And someone stole his bike, and he really was upset because it was his father's as well. So I recreated that for him, and so on and so forth. This is a nice one. This Joanna, I didn't know her, but she told an interesting story about how when she was 5, her whole family was moving, and her parents had them pack boxes of their special things, you know, like how when you're a kid you have special things. They're usually rocks, and I don't know, I had a lot of rocks and dolls. And so her and her brother packed their special things, and they were on the top of her father's car, and in the middle, they fell in the middle of the highway. And she remembers being told from her dad that, you know, her box was gone, and it was the first time she felt like, you know, a little bit of lack of control, and it's, you know, it's loss, basically. So each of the objects has some sort of story or history or memory attached to them. I completed this, like I said, in 2 years, so it was from 2012 to 2014, and then I made them into the panels just last year. And then since then, I've been doing some other projects. I'm not sure how much time I have left, but so I'll just describe some of the other ones since people have asked about those as well. There's a series that I did at the Walton Art Center, which is in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I interviewed 8 different people that were volunteers of the center, and I asked them just to talk and have a conversation with me, and then I created pieces based off of their stories. This is Rebecca's. Rebecca had 2 windows, and Rebecca described growing up in Texas. Her father was a doctor, and he was an avid gardener, and he would garden. He was actually president of the Iris Club. Isn't that great? And so she remembers in Texas there's this amazing garden outside of her house. And during World War II, her father was actually stationed in Florida to do medical exams for people that were entering the Army. And so their family moved down to Florida and lived on a base. And she described these blackout curtains that they would have because of air raids. So I don't think they're actually, I think there were tests, like they were just, in case there was an air raid, it was, they would put those down. But it's supposed to symbolize that there were these two different windows that she had in her childhood. In the corner, we have Mike, and Mike would hide to read. I'm actually going to come back out here so that some of you can see me. We have Mike would hide to read, and I love putting him in the corner like that because he grew up in a rural part of Arkansas, and his mother died when he was 3, and his father remarried, and they had he had a number of step siblings, but he was the oldest, and he was one of the few men of the house, and his dad would work on railroads. And so he'd be gone for weeks at a time, and he was basically in charge of their farm. And so he described just having to work a lot, and that his refuge was being able to read. And so he would hide in the haystacks and hide in the pig sty area and just go wherever he could to be able to read and to escape. And he actually went on to, because of his local, it was almost like a library on wheels. He went on to do his thesis on Charles Dickens, and he was a professor of English. So a really fabulous story, but he had definitely had a trying childhood. Over here we have Roger's grandmothers were cheaters, and Roger grew up actually in Oregon. And he described really disliking his grandmothers, which is why he made them out of this scratchy wool. I wanted to kind of describe their personalities. But they would play pinochle, and they would cheat constantly. So I liked this image of these kind of cheating, mean grandparents. So that's them. You can't see these as well, but you probably saw them when you came in. There's a series of 3 of the same person. This is a more personal piece for me. It's based off of the story of my very dear friend, Emily. And in April 2015, she was walking down the street after coming home from the gym. And as she was walking down the street, I was actually going to her house. I was going to borrow her car. And I received a phone call, and it was from Emily, and I picked up, and I was like, hey. And it was the Philadelphia Police Department because she was assaulted. She was punched from behind, and immediately in my head they said, come get here. And I ran towards her where they said she was. And I immediately envisioned her being in a pile, so that's the pile one. When I saw her, it was actually, it's like she reached out and she wanted to, just see me, and she was so excited that I was there because there are all these police everywhere, but I was so thrilled that she was up. She was upright, and so that was a good thing for me, but that's actually her real sweatshirt. So the other 2 are fake ones, or they're replicas, but that's the real sweatshirt. And on that you can see it was torn, and you can see that there's actually some of her blood on it as well. And then the one on the left where it's called His View, and that's what he saw when he decided to do what he did to her. So as you can see, it's a little bit easier for me to sometimes talk about other people's stories, but I am moving into talking about some of my own stories as well. Anyway, so, and I do think that part of this process of creating artwork helps to make it so that you can think about these things and you can express them, which is really important, not only to me, but I think to other people who may have gone through something like that as well. as embarrassing as it is. So, you know, I am embarrassed by it because it's vulnerable, but I also think it's important, and it adds so much more to the pieces. Because if you just see them, you wouldn't know the power of the story. So.